Greetings from Costa Rica, folks, and thanks very much for joining me for this Costa Rica Real Estate Forum number 28. Today, our topic is going to be a return to some of the basics of Costa Rica real estate that I have addressed here on my channel, Costa Rica Matt, before. Just a video change there. We're here every Friday at noon with new Costa Rica videos. Some of them are absolutely live, like this one, during which you are welcome to ask questions, post listings, or ping me for any advice that you're looking for. Some of them are uploaded videos, but we are always putting information on Costa Rica real estate out there on Friday afternoons at noon. So do be sure to hit that subscribe button and notifications bell for all of our great market analysis and listings and the stuff we're talking about on Costa Rica real estate. Excuse me. Anyhow, today, as always, our topic is the market fundamentals of Costa Rica real estate. And like I said, going back to some very basic questions that I've probably answered on my channel before, but that I wanted to really give as people might want to start considering investing, as well as updating some of these fundamental questions for 2023. Here's a look at our very ambitious agenda for today. And I'll move over here while I read these. Obviously, one of the big driving factors here has always been the lack of an MLS, though we have been working on one. We'll talk about the MLS and various options in Costa Rica. We'll talk about financing for foreigners. We'll talk about how Costa Rica real estate is really a luxury item and how that can drive market activity. We'll talk about, I've got financing on there twice. We'll do who is who, talking about the different actors in the Costa Rica real estate market. We'll talk about how both listings work, listing agents, and buyer's agents, and whether they're needed. We'll also go over commissions and closing costs. And absolutely last, but definitely not least, I want to react to a video that I saw on YouTube. I really try not, and I'm trying to get my little agenda here off the screen. I really try to only be positive here on Costa Rica, Matt, but I saw a video that really was just so misconceived that I want to help a fellow YouTuber improve the quality of their content and especially improve the quality of advice they're giving other people based on walking around Costa Rica and trying to figure out what's going on. So at the very end, I will be happy to discuss this particular YouTube video. But first and foremost, I did want to say October 27th, 2023 is an incredibly important date because it is the birthday of my mother, and it's her 75th birthday. I'm going to save the people who are watching my channel the absolute misery of singing live on YouTube, primarily because she's smart enough not to watch me anymore anyhow. But if anybody out there is seeing this who knows my mom, happy birthday, Mom. Love you very much. The rest of you, stay tuned for some real estate information. Hello, folks. Today we're talking about the fundamentals of the Costa Rica real estate market. And specifically, we're doing this with a relationship to foreigners and people looking to invest here from the United States and Canada. If you're interested in investing in Guanacaste and you've been here and you're starting to think it's time to invest in real estate, do be sure to email me at matt@costaricamat.com. More than happy to help you if you're looking anywhere from the southern areas near Lagarto and Marbella, all the way up through Tamarindo, Langosta, Grande, Conchal, Flamingo to Potrero. I can be of service to you. Let's look at our first real estate market topic here. I'm assuming that the people who are watching my channel, first and foremost, understand that yes, foreigners can buy titled property here. There's only an exception for beachfront property where nobody can buy it, and that you can buy property without any kind of residency here in Costa Rica. That has made this a very attractive option for people. And obviously, there are tons of foreigners investing in our market. First and foremost, one of the fundamental differences that people see when they come to Costa Rica versus other real estate markets is that there is no MLS here, or multiple listing service, where in the US or Canada, you would have access to unlimited, perfect data as to what was actually happening. In Costa Rica, there is no MLS, or rather there has never been an MLS, largely because real estate isn't regulated and managed the same way as it is in US or Canada. Licensing for realtors is not necessary, and so there's no obligation, or there's really no leverage to push realtors to all use standardized systems like MLSs. So essentially, every attempt to make an MLS ends up facing difficulties because there is no obligation. And as we'll talk later, there aren't only formal realtors involved in this market, but there are plenty of informal people as well who would never want to sign up for an MLS anyhow. Now, this is changing. Our Realtors Association in Guanacaste, which is called the Costa Rica Global Association of Realtors, or CRGAR, we have an MLS called Omni MLS, and you should get on it and look for Guanacaste real estate listings. However, I am, even as a member of this organization and somebody who's updating their listings and sales and everything, it is still, unfortunately, both an incomplete and immature database. I can think off the top of my head of several large brokerages that are not participating in the MLS because they're not participating in the Realtors Association. I can also think off the top of my head of dozens of people who have small pocket listings or unlisted properties that you wouldn't find in a formal real estate system anyway. So unfortunately, even as of 2023, I'm afraid to say there is no MLS that you can use in the same way that you can use a US or Canadian MLS. Yes, we have one. Yes, we're building up that data, but as of now, it's not the same tool that you have available in the US or Canada. A next critical question and fundamental difference of this market versus the US or Canada is that foreigners looking to purchase here are not going to find access to financing that even resembles the US mortgage, 30 years and that sort of slow repayment. In fact, until a year ago, I was telling people this is 100% exclusively a cash market for foreigners buying here. You have probably seen over the last year that there are a lot of advertisements for banks that are now offering loans to foreigners buying in Guanacaste. Saw this great need and a huge opportunity. Frankly, if I had 30-year mortgages at my disposal to help people buy property, along with interest rates where the US market is, I could be selling a heck of a lot more property in Guanacaste than I currently am. All of these lending options that I have made contact with so far, I request their payment terms, all of the conditions to be able to apply for and receive these new foreigner loans. I have not found one bank or independent private lender who doesn't have interest rates that are essentially the same as what those private lenders are looking for as hard money lenders investing in assets that they want to absolutely undervalue. So what I would say right now is that yes, there is some financing available for foreigners buying in Costa Rica, but the financing that is available is only really good for you if you're going to repay a loan very quickly or if you really only need a small percentage of the overall loan to value. Because most of these lenders and the banks are going to start with a minimum 30 to 50% loan to value that they want to make. The private people are going to start more at about 50% and hope that really you're paying more than half of the property up front. And still, you're going to find that whereas private lenders can be a little bit more honest and aim for short terms, actually, a lot of times you can see that the private groups are actually trying to give successful loans, just bridge financing to people that they know are going to pay them back. The banks down here are absolutely happy to give as many loans as they can possibly work into their risk portfolio, while also opening up the possibility that they foreclose on some really cheap properties in the future. The bank loans that I've seen exclusively go to variable interest rates, usually after a term of 2 years. So I'm still telling all of my buyers that this is 95% a cash market for foreigners, but that absolute guaranteed 100%, when they see the terms of financing, they're going to prefer to enter this market as a cash buyer, because really that's where you're not going to end up paying huge interest rates and possibly variable rates just to try and finance the purchase of your property. I'm going to skip a point really quick and jump onto something I plan to talk about fourth, because, oh, no, we'll talk about it third here. I guess I'm all organized. Because really, one thing that drives our market and the supply and demand here is that even though a lot of people are relocating to Costa Rica, by and large, real estate in Guanacaste and most areas that foreigners are purchasing is a luxury item. This isn't a necessity whatsoever. This isn't their housing that they actually need. And that completely changes a market in that obviously it's people shopping for diamond rings versus people shopping for bread and butter. And in economic downturns in the US and Canada, even though we like to think we're isolated or we're going to have people still moving here, we have to recognize that the fundamental driver behind these purchases, the emotional reason that a lot of people are purchasing in Guanacaste, is absolutely the same emotional reasons that people buy fur coats, fast cars, and those diamond rings. And so anytime people lose that luxury budget, our market can immediately see this contraction. And to be honest, that's a lot of what's happened over this last year. We were barn busting, absolutely hot, flaming market in 2021 and 2022. People had savings because they had been unable to travel during the pandemic. A lot of people had to delay purchases, but overall, they had that luxury budget available. Now we're seeing interest rates cut into that, a lot of uncertainty in the market, and people are thinking, maybe I don't need that diamond ring. And you see the momentum come off because, yes, this is a luxury item and not just something that everybody needs. And remember, they're also paying for this luxury in cash. It's one thing to buy a Bentley tomorrow if you can finance it out for 15 years and only pay for it $2,000 a month. That probably doesn't even work out for the Bentley math. But it's amazing. I've even had people who, the moment they find out they're going to have to pay cash, because even if they have the money and they have the cash, their calculation as to how much they spend and whether they want this property changes every time. Absolutely, because this is a luxury and not a necessity. Let's talk about the fourth point in the real estate market here, the different people involved. You will hear that you need a lawyer to represent you as a buyer of Costa Rica real estate. That's absolutely the case. You have to have a scrupulous, ethical, helpful buyer's attorney in order to close any real estate transaction here in Costa Rica. Now, A lot of times, because you're also paying that attorney to do due diligence on a property and they're handling the closing, people definitely start to think, well, what's the role of the realtor? Or what is their responsibility and how are they actually earning their paycheck? It's an absolutely valid point to bring up, and you need to understand that because Costa Rica real estate involves a lot more questions about location, neighborhood, water access, electrical access, all kinds of factors that a lawyer is not actually, all kinds of aspects of the location in general, the property values in that area, on and on. Our knowledge is very much absolutely needed to help you find the right property that's actually a good fit for your goals, your comfort level, the amenities you and your family need. We're also a resource to help you figure out whether or not a fair price is being asked for that property. And that's absolutely because we don't have an MLS with all of the data that might be accessible to the public up in the US and Canada. Here, we're absolutely flying blind on prices in terms of online, easy access to information. And your realtor is going to be someone who can help you actually define that cost. But a buyer's attorney is one party needed. I feel strongly you absolutely need a realtor, whether you're a buyer or seller, though there are exceptions. You also, in this area, are starting to see a lot of, actually not starting to see, that's the absolutely wrong phrase. There are many other players in the real estate game who are called comisionistas, as one example, who are people who aren't necessarily full-time real estate agents. They're not realtors by profession, who are definitely trying to get in the middle of any real estate deal that's possible so that they can make a commission. Some of these people are absolutely awesome at what they do. They're more just sort of relaxed and they only handle a few real estate clients per year, but they actually do have the knowledge, skills, and experience to do a great job. You will also meet a huge population of people who are literally just trying to connect a buyer and a seller, no matter how they can do that so that they can get a commission. And this is one of the sources of Costa Rica real estate's greatest problems. These intermediaries wandering around who may seem very trustworthy, caring, and absolutely friendly when they meet you. But really, they're doing so as part of an effective sales strategy to eventually be making a commission on a real estate deal. I can't say the number of times I've heard from people, oh, Matt, we're so sorry. We already bought property, or we're not going to buy property through your office. We just met somebody at the bar or wherever. They showed us this off the market listing, blah, blah, blah. They told us it's the absolute best price and it just fell out of contract. This happened to a couple in Potrero, by the way. I want to send a shout out to them who bought a lot without a water letter because they had met somebody super friendly and, oh, Matt, suddenly I was out of the process. But yeah, there comes the frustration bubbling to the surface there. If you meet somebody at the bar or a restaurant who seems friendly and has an absolute great, absurdly good price on a farm, your next step is to take your trusted realtor to that farm to see it. There's a million ways that person can still make a commission. And one of the biggest errors that people make is thinking that they've got some smart lead and, oh, they're going to make find a great opportunity without their realtor, when in fact, they're just trying to save what ends up being 3%. They probably won't even save that amount in the end anyhow. And what they actually need is a realtor to take their interests in heart. If you're in Guanacaste and you're meeting some of these people, again, there are very useful and helpful real estate guides or comisionistas out there. There are Costa Ricans who will give you a tour throughout the country in their van and let you meet up with different realtors throughout to be able to look at properties throughout the country. And that can be absolutely magnificent. But when you start to find your actual property and when you've realized, I want to invest my life savings into this, you absolutely then need to find somebody who is a local real estate professional to help you out. And don't just get sucked in to working with a seller who knew your comisionista, who became your friend long enough ago that you've forgotten that they really have absolutely no qualifications in the real estate market. One last thing I'll say on comisionistas, very often they will tell you, I've got this special listing, and 90% of the time it's their friend's property, or it is a listing where they know for a fact that they can get a fat commission. They are not at all trying to present a comprehensive look at what's on the market. Instead, they are simply trying to get you excited about one property where they know they're going to make a big commission and focus on that. So let's talk about the seller side and how listings work here in Costa Rica. A lot of people think that there are no exclusive listings, or they think that agents cannot show the listings of other people. I know in some European countries, there's a listing agent and buyers approach directly sellers agents in order to figure out which property they're going to buy. What happens in Costa Rica when you approach your search like that is you're going to get a pitch from every different seller's agent as to why their property or their community is the absolute best fit for you. And I wholeheartedly recommend not taking that approach, simply because they're going to try and sell you something rather than try and look out for your interests. There are exclusive listings here, and most sellers who are in touristy areas like to sign up with exclusive listing agencies because there are large brokerages who have a great marketing program to be able to bring them clients. It's not only Coldwell Banker, Costa Rica. There are RE/MAX franchises. There are Blue Water Properties, an independent agency. But they can very much have those exclusive listings, obviously, in the areas where there's a vibrant enough real estate market for people to actually feel that an exclusive listing is worthwhile. If you're looking for property outside of those touristy or more developed areas, you will very frequently find that there's almost zero exclusive listings in an area that's absolutely undeveloped, and you're going to be doing a different kind of search. But to explore these exclusive listings and really, to be clear, you are able to select a buyer's agent who can see multiple agents' exclusive listings. And in fact, to me, that approach works way better than going directly to sellers agents, again, because you've got your agent who's whispering in your ear and saying, look at that crack, or, this neighborhood just had X crime incident. You've got the seller's agent trying to push their game, and it can be a fair balancing act. Whereas, you call up seller's agents and they say, oh, this house is perfect and there's never any crime. And definitely you can see that people who decide not to pick that buyer's agent can end up getting all these pitches. In any given market, the really good realtors will also show you the for sale by owner listings. And there are always going to be plenty of those in Costa Rica. Yes, there will be exclusive listings, and I'd say in places like Tamarindo, the vast majority of the properties that are for sale are exclusively listed by someone, whether it's a big, huge company or one of the small people that's listing it for their friends. Rural areas, it's going to be a lot less, and you're going to see a bigger proportion of those FSBO, or for sale by owner, listings. So the question is, and the one that I've already been answering a lot, is whether buyer's agents are needed here in Costa Rica. If you're looking in an absolutely rural area where there isn't a buyer's agent with local knowledge available, you're not forced to try and bring someone in from another part of the country. More than anything, I think buyer's agents are 100% needed anywhere that they're knowledgeable and useful. I would never suggest myself as a buyer's agent to somebody for property in Limon, for example. It would be me, the blind, leading the blind if I were to take somebody out to those properties, and I would be exposing them to liabilities that I just shouldn't whatsoever. So I think, yes, your buyer's agent is absolutely needed. Your buyer's agent is someone who knows the territory where you want to purchase. And where you want to purchase is a place that you find independently through traveling Costa Rica, spending time here, going to retreats, partying your guts out, whatever you want to do. Find your location without calling realtors and hearing their sales pitch. Land in that location and say, okay, who's the most experienced person in this area to help guide me at what real estate I should look at? Sometimes it may actually be Juan Carlos, the guy from the bar, who really is the only one who's ever sold property in that town. Other times it might be a professional brokerage like Coldwell Banker, Pacific Realty. And of course, if you're looking for unparalleled experience that stretches back to 2008 in Costa Rica, do be sure to email me. The address is easy to remember, matt@costaricamat.com. I realized I had one more question to cover here on how the Costa Rica real estate market works, and then we'll get to my reaction to the video by another YouTuber that I want to help out a little bit. Commissions, in short, are covered by sellers here in Guanacaste and most of Costa Rica. You will find rare circumstances where a seller has a publicly listed price. They say for sale by owner. They also put sin intermediarios, or without intermediaries. And what that seller is expecting is, if I tell you a price, I'm not going to be paying an agent here. So yes, you can bring your buyer's realtor, and that can be someone, like we said, from across the spectrum of people. But if you're looking at a for sale by owner specifically, that would be the one case where sellers here are not planning on paying a commission. Those commissions out here in Guanacaste are almost always a 6% rate for your standard middle market house or condo selling with two brokers involved. The buyer's agent gets 3%, the seller's agent gets 3%. You do also have to pay, or the seller also has to pay taxes on that, so it goes up to 6.78%. Now that's obviously 6% using as what's the 80% of the transactions in Guanacaste most often scenario. You do see that for luxury listings and higher end items, that commission may drop to 5%. You do see that in very competitive markets or places where it takes a ton to sell a property and it's difficult, commissions may go higher. You may also see that lots of property owners here are offering huge commissions, specifically because they've had a hard time selling their property and they're trying to tempt all of these comisionistas out there with the biggest possible prize. While there isn't an enforceable code of ethics in Costa Rica, I think you should always feel free to make sure that your agent is disclosing their commission on any deal. In the US, it would have to be disclosed as part of transparency and realtors keeping their licenses. In Costa Rica, you'll meet people who smile at you at the bar, get the friendship going. Oh, they know a special house that's for sale, only $250,000, great opportunity, and they sell it to you. and years later you find out that the house was priced at $200,000 and the guy pocketed $50,000. This does happen here in Guanacaste, and I'm sure other parts of Costa Rica. If you're doing your process correctly to choose your realtor and the team of people who represent you, then it should be totally irrelevant because they're going to be transparent. If you're in one of those situations where you're picking between non-professionals and part-time realtors, you might want to be very clear with them and say, look, I will definitely work with you and I'm hiring you as my agent. I'm going to pay you a fixed percentage commission, and try and take out the possibility of some of these net commissions that agents can sometimes have. I was even offered one. We were trying to sell a nearly $2 million ranch, and I got a phone call asking whether I would be willing to present it to clients at like a $400,000 price higher than it was actually listed, so that he could keep 100, I could keep 100, just absolute corruption. In that case, I said absolutely, and we went with it and took, no kidding. Obviously, one of my absolute priorities is maintaining the same commission rate no matter who I'm working with, and that's how I work personally, but you see a lot of people who work in other ways. So now finally, I want to get to a video I saw on another YouTube channel, and really, I never want to be negative here on Costa Rica, Matt. I have tried dearly to ignore some of the absolutely awful YouTube content I see out there where people are giving just wrong advice, really just completely misinforming their audience. To be quite honest, it drives me nuts to see people who don't even speak Spanish walking around and interpreting their surroundings in ways that they have, basically no experience or idea of what is going on. So this is all going to be said with an absolutely positive, hopeful, and helpful attitude to this fellow YouTuber. The name is Chenzalun or Shenzalan. I honestly have not heard the guy pronounce his name. I've seen him out there a ton, and finally I saw this video that was titled on his channel, The Side They Don't Show You, Costa Rica. And in this video, the side they don't show you, he's saying, no one ever goes out to the neighborhoods and really gets an experience for people and their culture and shows the other Tico community. Then the video proceeds, from what I was able to watch of it, basically of driving around a Costa Rican neighborhood and invasively putting the phone into people's backyards and showing their homes along the route, everything like that. Which, first of all, to me is about the unfriendliest, most ugly foreigner way to do a video about other people's communities. And frankly, when I see other people get out of their car and take pictures of humble homes to try and promote on YouTube, it makes me really upset, because these people, first of all, rarely know that the person with their phone out is taking a picture. Second of all, these people have a ton of dignity and respect, and they probably would not like some rich American or foreigner showcasing how poor they are online. And finally, when these foreigners don't even really know what's going on in a community and proceed to tell everybody else what's happening, that's just a sin that I really couldn't forget. And I want to just show one clip, where this guy is getting out of his car and walking through town. This town, it's clearly, absolutely clearly a Sunday in a working town. I've been through these places where, yes, in Costa Rica on Sundays, things shut down. He marvels at how this is just a ghost town now. Let's listen.
Oh, man, check this place out, dude.
He keeps talking about this being an absolute ghost town, that it must be economically super depressed, and that he can't imagine that 50 years ago, all the cowboys and their families out there, these are actually things he was talking about there. I don't want to go on much more. Suffice it to say, the town that he's in is simply shut for a weekend day. It's actually a pretty well-maintained town compared to a lot of the places that you see here in Costa Rica. And among other nuggets that this guy presented of misinformation, he starts off the video talking about how tourism drives the economy and then drives through agricultural plantations for miles, which are actually the driver of economic activity in the town he visits. So what I want to make the point here, some productive little bit, is please, if you're out there and watching YouTube videos of people who have little experience actually interpreting their surroundings, just be sure to take some of those videos out there with a grain of salt. And frankly, I'd appreciate it if, as YouTube viewers, you give positive feedback to the people who celebrate the dignity, humility, and absolute amazing aspects of this culture, rather than just driving around and pointing their phone at people's homes, calling them poor, because really they don't understand that rusty metal, unpainted wood, and dirty backyards are just some of the standard ways that people live here in Costa Rica. I'd be more than happy to talk with this YouTuber directly about the culture here, about how it'd be better to ask Ticos about a town rather than visiting it and just slapping labels on what you're looking at, because those labels were inaccurate and frankly, pretty disgusting of a video. Have a good one.